tell you, I don't think any of us could count the number of guilt sermons that could be preached about this passage. How dare you have doubt? Even Jesus says, don't doubt. That's the way many people interpret that passage. How many of you don't have to show your hands, how many of you have gone through your long lives and not had any doubt? Not many of us. And it's okay. It's okay to have doubt. That's one of the things that we learn when we learn about disciple theology, that it's quite all right to be human. It's quite all right to have doubt. It doesn't mean you're not a person of good faith because you have to be shown. You see, the Apostle Paul and the Apostle Thomas both could have been related to Eliza Doolittle from the My Fair Lady play and movie. See, she expresses the same idea that Thomas expressed when he said, unless I see his hands and the marks of the thorn and the hole in his side, I will not believe. Because you see, Eliza Doolittle in that play says, do not tell me you love me. Show me. Show me. Well, and Thomas could have been related to St. Francis of Assisi, who also had doubt, because St. Francis said something very familiar when he said, preach the gospel at all times and use the words if necessary. Show me. Show me. Thomas had to be from Missouri. It's okay. Jesus Christ had doubts. On that night in the garden, he begged his Father. He says, hey, Daddy, don't let this happen to me. If there's any way out, let us find it. Let this cup pass. But your will be done. He was not free of doubt. Thomas was like many other people. He was a visual and a kinetic learner. He had to see things. He had to actually touch things in order to believe. Seeing for Thomas was believing. If he could see it, he could believe it. No wonder that he had his doubts when his disciples told him what had happened. They have killed my Lord. And you know, Thomas, I think, has often been really misunderstood. And he probably felt like an outcast for being the only one who really admitted to having doubts. I think the others certainly had some wonders, if not absolute doubt. But his doubt, Thomas's doubt, did cause a rift between he and the rest of the disciples. Think about that passage that Chris just read, where it has Jesus and where the picture has the hand of Thomas putting it into Jesus' side and saying to him, "Do not doubt, but believe." That's not a command. That's a showing. That's saying, Thomas, it's okay. I understand that you need to see. So now that you have seen, don't disbelieve. For whatever reason it was, whether it was because of his learning style or whatever, Thomas had that moment of doubt. But if you think about it, it really isn't all that surprising, because every one of the disciples reacted a bit differently to the happenings of that day. When the women got there to the tomb, they were afraid. Of course they were. When Peter and John ran to the tomb and they saw it empty, they were astounded. They didn't know what to think. They were in shock. They were in shock so much that John wouldn't even go into the tomb at first. And yet the scriptures tell us that John was the first one who came to believe the scriptures, or what the scriptures told him. Peter was just basically confused. But you know, there were a lot of reactions then, and there are a lot of reactions today to the cross and to the good news of the resurrection. What about the angel at the tomb? What did the angel think, and what were the reactions? We know that Thomas is one of doubt because we're told about it. And we know how Thomas handled his doubt. But it really brings up the question for today. How do we handle our doubt? And today, I want us to look at our doubt from some different perspectives. I want us to look and see if it's possible to have a life without doubt. I think I can unequivocally say, and I can say it without a doubt, that life without doubt is an absolute impossibility. We all have doubts, and some people think that's a problem. We're told, don't doubt. Some people think if we have doubts, we're not carrying out our faith properly. We're not good Christians because we doubt. It's quite okay. And these same people who tell us that we shouldn't have doubt, I think are the ones who really want us to check our brains in at the door when we come into a church or into a school or into a governmental building and just accept things at face value and not raise questions. They think we should be mindless, unquestioning masses. But you see, doubt causes us to ask questions, to go deeper into our faith, to understand it, to believe it more. So, let's hear it for doubt. Doubt is not the problem. And I don't think Jesus thought doubt was the problem either. I believe that doubt is an absolute free gift from God. Heavenly doubt. That's the doubt I'm talking about. Doubt that helps us think. Doubt that helps us question. Doubt that helps us change. And doubt that helps us grow. The early people and humanity said, without a doubt, we're all alone in this life. Some of us still say that and think there is no life other than life here. Without a doubt, we're the only ones. It's just us. That's what Abraham and Sarah said. They said, I doubt it. And yet a relationship with God of creation developed, and the beginnings of a whole new nation were formed. The early Israelites moaned that without a doubt they would always be slaves and they would never know what freedom was like. Moses said, I doubt it. And yet with God's leadership, Moses led them to the promised land. Humanity said, without a doubt, man will never fly. The Wright brothers said, I doubt it. And today, flying is normal for most all of us. Millions of people will board airplanes in the next few minutes. Sickness and disease said, without a doubt, we've got you. Now, we know that doctors and science can say, I doubt it. Modern vaccines and modern medications have cured many of the illnesses that people said, I doubt it. Skeptics and flat earthers said, without a doubt, we'll never make it to the moon. And NASA and others said, I doubt it. And then Neil Armstrong uttered those very famous words when he took that first step on the lunar surface. That's one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. You see, there are those who say that without a doubt, because you made bad choices or because you made mistakes, you've sinned and fallen away from God. And as a consequence, you are worthless and you will never amount to anything. God says his answer to that is, I doubt it. He sent his Son, who spread his arms wide open on that cross. And then he wrapped his arms around the whole world in a hug of love and grace. And he offers each and every person in the world forgiveness. So you see, sometimes doubt is a good thing. But doubt can lead to solutions and better understandings. Doubt can lead to changed lives. It did for Thomas. I want to take a look this morning at doubt from the perspective of life within a doubt, living a doubt. There's an author, Anne McCaffrey, who wrote in one of her novels about a disaster, and one of the characters comments on the reaction of the general masses of people. It was a little ditty. Maybe you've seen it or heard it over the years, but it stuck with me. It says, when in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. Doesn't that describe some people? I know it describes me sometimes. You bet. When in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. Do things like a chicken with its head off. That describes me, and I suspect some of you, when we feel in one of those situations that throws everything that I hold dear out the window and don't know how I'm going to handle it. You see, that's what doubt does to us. It fills us with fear and uncertainty. And some of our doubt comes simply from living in the society that we live in. It's a challenge to live today, to live a life that's filled with faith. It's a challenge to live a life of dependency upon God, and live a life of plenty and a life of material things that we have today. Sometimes our doubt is simply a cover-up for cowardice and fear. We don't want our friends and those around us to really know what we think. Sometimes our doubt may even be related to low wounds, to rejections, to hurts, to disappointments, to failures, and to grief. You see, those things hold on to our hearts and won't let us trust completely, to let go and let God, and to trust God completely. Sometimes that's a difficult thing to do, to just let go of a situation and say, God, I can't handle this. You take it. Because we're such managers that we want to take control of the situation and manage it. And the contrary to that is we don't have that trust. And we doubt that God will handle it. And we think, well, if he does handle it, he's not going to handle it in the way I want him to handle it. We doubt what the outcome will be. And we all like for things to be the same. You know, as much as we gripe about the boredom of living the same old life, going to the same old job, riding in the same old car, and doing the same old thing over and over and over again, we really like the same old stuff. I often say that the only human being that I know of that likes change is a baby in a wet diaper. Most of us would rather have the same old thing rather than try something new. We will stay with the devil we know and turn away from the angel we don't know. And living within this doubt, God can always do for us what he did for Thomas. God always is there to reach out to us. When we're living within a doubt, God can reach out and hand us that wounded hand of Jesus and show us, do not doubt, but believe. And you see what happens is the willingness to accept your doubt, to admit it, and to name that doubt is the first step in living with doubt. When you find yourself living with doubt, simply pray a simple, one-sentence little prayer. Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief. See, it's okay to have that unbelief. But we have a way to handle that. Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief. Another facet of doubt is we're called to live beyond that doubt that we have. Not that we're not going to have it. We are. We're called to live beyond that doubt. And we do that by faith. You see, the worst thing in life of faith is not doubt. The worst thing in a life of faith is discouragement. Doubt doesn't tear at the heart. Discouragement does. Doubt doesn't tear down the spirit or the soul. Discouragement does. Living beyond doubt means living as encouragers, a positive, hopeful life. Encouragers. You see, you and I are called to be another Barnabas. You know what Barnabas means? That word means son of encouragement. So Barnabas was an encourager. And we can show encouragement in a lot of little different ways as we go through this life. We offer a helping hand and encouragement through our prayer concerns, through meals that we may prepare and take for those who are sick or for families who are grieving at a time of a funeral. There are those who send notes and cards or make telephone calls. All of these are acts of encouragement. They lift the spirit, and we can all find ways to help others lift their spirits, to decrease their doubt, to encourage them in their walk of faith. And to be a Barnabas means that we do that consciously and constantly. Maybe you feel a little like Thomas when it comes to some aspect of faith about doubt. That's okay. And maybe you feel like if you have doubt, you're a little bit of an outsider. Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, for the last year or so, those doctors have been telling me I have no hope and that I should already be dead. And there for a few weeks, I was really going downhill. And you know what happened? You prayed. But I decided to quit, as my pulmonary doctor said, quit listening to those other doctors. I'm not treating you so that you can die. Well, nothing has changed other than my attitude and the prayers. And I've quit focusing in on the negative. There are those people here and everywhere who lifted up my spirits, who gave me the encouragement. In the last few weeks, I've recovery. Well, maybe not quite, but I'm sure a lot better than I was. And that's what being an encourager can mean to someone else. And we can be positive. And we can accept that in our faith, it's okay to doubt, because I certainly did. I began doubting some of the things I have preached. I began wondering, is this all true about a life hereafter? And what happens? when you pass on from this world to the next? And none of us know the answer to those questions. And so, my friends, it's not just rationalization. I'm just saying factually, it's okay to doubt. It doesn't mean I don't believe in God and I don't accept the principles that I've been preaching for all these years. It means that I have not resigned from the human race because I became a preacher. It does not mean I have resigned from the human race because I have a faith tradition that I call Christian. Simply means, yes, I believe very deeply. But it simply means, as a human, as was Thomas, and as Jesus knew would happen, I will have doubts. But you finally come down to the point where you accept that there was a time when the arms of Jesus Christ opened up. And that was at a time of his worst suffering, his worst humiliation. And yet he opened up his arms on that cross to say, I love you. I love you all. All of you come to my protection. And one last favor, I think he would have said, I want you to be like Barnabas. I want you to be an encourager for others so that they too will find my love. They too will find the faith that I bring to them. Amen.